Go. Okay, good morning. We are continuing with Kuf Yud Chet. Just as a quick reminder, the sugya of Basar Shenis'ala Mina Ayin, that's back to Siman Samech Gimel. So for all these halachos, it's just good to keep it in mind. Probably it's not Lamaisa for this topic, because this topic there's always somebody watching it. Again, there used to be a Jew who's watching it. But anyways, this is the Siman of Kuf Yud Chet about delivery services. Mishloach, whether it's in the hands of a Jew or non-Jew, depending on if the person is chashud or not, as we are learning. In a few minutes after Yud, I'm going to give a short list. I'd rather read a little bit first, and we're going to do a short list of ideals, lechadchila, and bediavad, just to bring it all together. But I think we should first finish Seif Yud. You'll appreciate better the list. Okay, I'm going to start with Seif Zayin today. So Kuf Yud Chet, Seif Zayin. Might be a quick review, but it is Kedai. Zayin. Im Shalach al Yedei Goy. So you sent a package of food through a Goy, Bilo Chosam, and there's no seal. Im also Makom Ma'var L'Rabim Mutter. Being sent in a public place. It's on the road, everyone sees the delivery service, then it's mutter. Right? There's no chosam. It's by a goy. It could be any kind of, it could be meat, it could be bread, it doesn't matter. Shehu yarei shama yirenu echad mi'ovrim. Because there's a mirtas, there's a fear. He's out in public, he has to do a delivery service, and what's he going to do? On the street, he's going to switch it with something? He's afraid, the yitfas alav keganav, he might be caught, and he'll be a ganav, I don't know, whatever, any kind of penalties, whatever. Umihu, will be caught. He's afraid. Umihu lechatchila lo yishlach al yedei goy b'lo chosam. So the Shulchan Aruch is clear. Bediavad, this case is mutter, but lechatchila, that's totally inappropriate and is not acceptable. If it's done in a public place, as we said. Okay, now I want to point out the Taz, important. Yud Aleph, quotes from the Ramah, Toras Chatas, the Noagim Lishloach Ayidei Goy, B'mako Ma'avar L'Rabim, V'hi Shchunat Yisrael V'en Goyim Mitzuyim Sham. So the Ramah says, doesn't disagree with the Shulchan Aruch, maybe not, but he says, if it's in a Jewish neighborhood, perhaps in anywhere in Eretz, most places, or anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, certainly most places, then it's not a problem. So this could be a reason why it's okay, perhaps, to send a delivery service, a pizza, food, and there's no chosam, and there's nothing. And that's your mishloach, and there's no sticker, there's nothing. So it seems to be, according to the Ramah, again, it may not be the ideal practice, but it is considered mutter lechatchila, according to the Ramah, and perhaps according to the Shulchan Aruch. So this is what we see in some neighborhoods with some restaurants. Okay, so that's why. Okay, let's go to Chet, Seif Chet. Halokeach basar. Now you take meat. V'shalchu biyad echad mi'am ha'aretzos. So a regular Jew who is an am ha'aretz. So, and there's no chosam, right? You're sending even meat to a Jew. He's ne'aman alav afa pi she'eno muchzak b'kashrus. So you're sending it to a Jew who you know doesn't keep kosher. Maybe partial kosher, but he doesn't always keep kosher, that's for sure. Ve'ein chosheshim shema yachlif, and you're not afraid he's going to be a machlif. Even though you know he's chashud to eat treif, you don't have to worry that he's going to go out of his way and switch it on you, because he knows he's serving kosher food, delivering kosher food to an Orthodox religious Jew, that he's not going to switch on you. You don't have to worry about it. That's the sheet of the Rambam, and you do not need to worry about it. Vafilu Avdei Yisrael v'imoteihem ne'amanim b'davar zeh. Even, this is the Shach points out, we're talking about in Eved Canaan who converts. So, because if we're talking about a real Eved Yisrael, then he's a complete Jew. So when here, that's his pshat over here. V'yesh mi. Now this is a dissenting opinion. This is the Rashba, who writes, She'im hu chashud lechol dvarim she'ein derech harabim lahakel behem afu chashud lahachlif. So it depends. So the first opinion, the Rambam is, even if you know he doesn't keep kosher, you can trust him for delivery service. The Rashba says, it depends. If he's chashud to eat treif, or something, that everybody else is machmaran. This guy is more mekel neged the halacha than everybody else. So then, this type of person is chashud lahachlif. But if it's something that everybody is mekel for, then there's no issue whatsoever. That's clear from all the poskim. Look at the graph if you want. He points out that this opinion of the Rashba, this is a Beferish Gemara, so everyone agrees. Even in Amma Aretz, who's chashud al damai, we're talking about Isser Daraisa. So even an Amma Aretz who's chashud on an Isser Daraisa, shehu davar sherabim mekilin behem, but everybody's mekel. A lot of people are mekel. So therefore, he's still ne'aman. Again, in other words, you know this Jew might not keep to your standard, but he's still ne'aman not to be machlif, even according to this opinion. So in other words, it comes out, the only time you have to worry is if this guy's a little bit of a manuvel compared to everybody else. He's
everybody else that is not ne'aman on the kashrus, she'ein mutzah b'kashrus. That was the setup in this set.
Right.
So he's someone who doesn't necessarily eat kosher, but he eats things that even people who don't eat kosher wouldn't eat. I'm just trying to understand the space here. I've heard non-religious coworkers who said, well, I don't eat basar lavan, right? I won't eat pork, right? They'll eat seafood, but they won't eat pork. So this person that eats pork, now he's more chashud? Is that the kind of case we're talking about?
Trying to think if I understand you. If it's something that that religious Jews are doing, and this guy's doing what other religious Jews are doing, then you don't have to worry about him, even according to the Rashba. But if he's doing less than religious Jews are doing, then he's a problem. According to the Rashba, then for sure he's a problem. So let's say you have a case. So we saw even a chashud al damai, since everybody, many are mekel. I see what you're saying. How far can you take it? Yeah. So how far can you take it? We'll leave it out of the shir. Every case legufo. But what you could see is clearly, let's say somebody is mekel on chalav stam in America. So in other words, he's going to drink regular milk in America, but he knows there's a lot of Jews who are but because there's a mirtas, and I think most Jews are mekel, many Jews, if not most. Let's say, but there's a lot of Jews who are machmer that it's only has the chalav Yisrael hechsher on it, however you define it. So that for sure can carry milk without a hechsher on it, and he's 100% ne'aman. That for sure you won't have a problem. That's super simple from here. Same thing. Let's say you have someone who holds of the Rabbanut, lechatchila. And as long as it's Rabbanut kosher, he's good with that. So too here, 100% in shum safek, he can carry any kind of meat or bread without any chosam whatsoever, and he can be your delivery service. He's not, you don't have to be choshesh, he's going to switch it on you. The only time the Rashba, who's more machmer, is if it's a little bit of a manuva, who actually, according to Orthodox religious Jews, doesn't keep kosher. He goes below what everyone else is doing. Okay, fine. I think that clarifies that halacha. Okay. Yeah, let's go to Tet. Basar hanimtza biyad goy. Now, if you find meat in the hand of a goy, v'katuv alav chosam, or kosher, and you see some kind of a seal on it, or it's written on the words kosher, right? The letters Chav Shin Reish, looks like it was written by a Jew. Afal pisha eni yadua miksav. You have no idea who wrote it. It's kosher. You're allowed to eat it because you see a chosam, you see the word kosher on it. You don't know who wrote it, but you assume it was Jewish. The Meida Deah Shehu Shel Yisrael, because you know a Jew wrote it. And again, we're assuming that most Jews kept kosher. And there's no Jews. Again, maybe nowadays it's a little bit different because not everyone is so from who can speak and write Hebrew. But anyways, it's over here. It's shelo. I'll leave that just as a tzarech. And nowadays, many goyim can write or type, maybe.
In Israel, sure.
So it depends if it's printed or written. Okay. So if you're in a place and you don't recognize who put the chosam on it, but you see it's written, and you know most Jews cannot. Again, some can, but most Jews cannot write the word kosher. Okay. Most non-Jews. Right. Sorry, I meant to say most non-Jews. So, okay. Or people you have to worry about. If it's Yisrael Chashudim, and but okay, so it depends. Every case legufo. Haga. Okay, Haga. Anyways, the point is that as long as you can assume it was written by a Jew and that it's kosher, you can rely on that even if you don't know who wrote it. Okay, let's go on. The shach is going on the previous. Okay, yeah, I just want to mention in the previous if chet where it says the case of the second opinion where he's chashud, so the shach points out you only have to worry on the foods that he's chashud for. Okay, fine. Okay, let's go on. Haga, we're in the middle of Tet. Haga, v'chen mutar likhanot gevinot achatumim kederech she'yisraelim chotimim. So you're allowed to buy cheese if you see some kind of a stamp on it, some kind of a kasher on it. Right? Because that's the way the Jew's going to write the chosam. V'dafka b'makom she'ein lachu shama nisharu adifusim b'yad goyim. And this is in a place where you're not worried that the goyim are going to be able to print the same kind of a seal. V'kavu otam b'gvinoteim, and they're going to put it on to their gvina. And v'yesh osrim b'kol zeh mi'achar shel yadanu miktavo achotumo b'diavad ein lahachmer. So first the Rama writes, Lachatchila, you shouldn't rely on it if you don't recognize who put the stamp on there, but b'diavad ein lahachmer. And I think that's, just want to say, basically that's the halacha, but take all this with a grain of salt with modern day hechsherim, and even if you can know a Jew wrote that hechsher, not all Jews who make hechsherim are necessarily trustworthy or very good. Well, that's a separate issue. That's not okay. You can rely on an OU. Okay, you don't have, or you can rely on. Okay. Okay. Now, what it means, b'diavad, the shach points out. In other words, you shouldn't buy it, but if you bought it, then you can eat it. You don't have to throw it out. In other words, it's not b'diavad ein lahachmer, and if you see it in the store, don't buy it. Like whatever, b'diavad is like when it's in your possession. But if you're worried about them printing, labeling false labels, then afilu b'diavad, it's aser. Again, every case is what it is. But the shach does point out the lavusha is b'makom hefsid. Maybe you could be make a b'diavad even if there's a chashash of them having the stamps. So again, it depends on the case and depends how makom hefsid we're talking about. And then he points out the shach that even the Rama seems to be a little bit against his own words, because he writes in Torah's Chatas, the minhag is to buy wine from non-Jews. from Me'eretz Ovdei Kochavim, Me'eretz Yishmael, he writes, that lechatchila they would buy wine from them, even though they have no idea who the hechsher comes from. In other words, they assume a Jew made it, and it always was sealed, and it says kosher on it, but they have no idea who the hashkacha was what, and they were also machanet. And that was the minhag lechatchila. So again, it doesn't mean it's an ideal practice, but again, all right, this whole siman's a little bit to put in practice. I want to mention a short list after Yud, but this whole siman is a little bit of different levels of practice and ideal and bediavad and makom hefsed v'chuli. Okay, let's read Yud and then we'll see a bit more. Right. We'll see, there's a lot of kulas to be somachan bediavad, but to do lechatchila and to run a business and to buy from a business, that's another whole nother story. And both, this is for pi halacha and based on the nature of honesty in business. So let's read Seif Yud. But okay. Haminiach nachri beveto. Now, you leave a non-Jew in your house. It happens. People have maids, people who work for them. You leave a non-Jew in your house. And if you leave and the goy or whoever's working there is going to switch it on you, even we're talking about Yisrael Torah, meat, whatever it is, fish, anything, kashrus deraisa. So if you fulfill the category of Yotzei v'Nechnas, he knows, you can come in and out whenever you want. So there's a fear. Afilu shahar zaman rav. You left him for hours, a long time. But you could show up any moment. V'lo hidio, and you didn't tell him shadaito lishot, and you didn't tell him you're going to leave for a long time. It's mutter. That's called Yotzei v'Nechnas. It's 100% mutter. You're not worried about him switching, even if you can make a big profit. You can take treif meat, switch it with yours, sell yours as kosher. I don't know. You can find a way to make a good profit, the difference in kosher and non-kosher. You don't have to worry about it. So when are we not worried? That's if he doesn't close the door. That means it's not locked and you can't immediately walk in. Or, as the Berek Abai points out, with yain, once he closes the door, it's enough time, because it still takes a few seconds, a minute to open up the door, depends if it's locked, whatever the situation is. In that time, he can touch yain. So if you're worried about him touching yain for yain nesach, it could be a problem. Again, maybe nowadays not, as I think we discussed earlier.
5 minutes, I have to go to the bathroom. That's lishon.
No, but
How much time you have?
5 seconds is not an issue. I don't know. 5 minutes. So anyway, it's a question how much. We're going to see. Save that thought. How many minutes for Yud Bet? Okay, see if Yud Bet. So hold on to that thought. Okay. Lefi shehu mitirei b'chol sha'a limor ata yavo vireni. Because at any moment you can walk in and he says to himself, I'm afraid the guy's going to walk in and see me. So therefore, you don't have to have a chosam. You can leave it Yisuri deraisa, and it's fine. Shach points out, doesn't matter, even a katan is good enough. As long as a katan's yotzei v'nichnas, I don't think a 2-year-old counts, but someone with das who can report, he's already afraid. 5 years old talk, I don't know, whatever the limit is, it's unclear, but even a young age will tell you, my 3-year-old says a lot. So I don't know exactly what the age is, but there's a certain age where people talk, and and there's a mirtas already. Afilu bi isuri deraisa, a katan works because there is a mirtas. That's the shach. Again, he doesn't give an age, but he just says the katan. Okay, let's continue the Shulchan Aruch. Aval im hodio shedaito lishot asa. But once you tell him, hey, listen, I'm leaving for an hour, then game over. It's not exactly game over. Keep reading. But in other words, then you have a problem. Shulchan Aruch continues. But if there's no benefit for the guy, like what's he going to do? Switch it with kosher meat with kosher meat. There's nothing to switch with, or kosher bread to non-kosher bread, or it's all the same price. and there's not going to be a benefit for him. So then, every case. Now, you can see if the words of the Tosfos, it means even if you're traveling, a mishloach, this doesn't mean just in your house, even by mishloach. B'chol inyan, everything's mutter. We're never worried about the guy coming and just lahach, I want this guy to eat treif. That we're never worried about. When this whole siman is only worried about, he's going to make a profit. There's some kind of benefit. He's going to get, let's say he needed to eat the food right now, he was hungry, and he says, I'm going to switch it later on the guy. Okay, that could be a benefit. But there has to be a benefit. It can't, but if the guy has his own lunch in his bag and he has what to eat, again, then
So you have to know whether the guy is hungry, as to whether it's us or mutter.
So let me just say, so I'll just point out, whenever you can assume there's no hana by chalipin, by switching, it's mutter 100%. That seems pashut from the Tosfos in Avodah Zarah Dafir Bet. It seems pashut from the Shulchan Aruch we just read. It's so too from the Tur who quotes it, the Beis Yosef. However, I'll just point out, if you look a little bit down on the page in the Gilyon Marsha, he says, and the Pri Chadash says this also, I don't know, in my edition I have it quoted from the Mata Yehonasan on the bottom, but he points out, so the Gilyon Marsha says, they both point out, but often it seems like from the Gemara, you always need one or two chosamos. So again, is it lechatchila or bediavad? That's a big question for the whole, but because we see there are times when you have to send lechatchila, but bediavad is what to rely on. But it seems like you always need at least one or two chosamos, depending on Yisrael Deraisa or Derabanan. So the Gilyon Marsha says, if it's really, really easy for him to be machlif, then we are choshesh, even if he doesn't get hana. Not the pshat of Tosfos or the Tur Shulchan Aruch, but that's what the Marsha adds, because he doesn't understand. It seems like we always need a chosam. And the Pri Chadash also says, a little bit like you asked, but it depends. If you assume he has what to eat, then there's no hana for him to switch, and then you never have to worry. Price is the same to switch. There's always a bakery to switch. It's easy, then you never have to worry. You never need a chosam, one or two. But if it's easy to make a profit out there, then you do have to worry. Or let's say he has nothing to eat. So that's his example, the Pri Chadash. You know he has nothing to eat. You're afraid he's going to eat your food right now and he's going to replace it later. And so therefore, it might be hard to replace it with kosher later, so then he might switch. So since he's hungry now, that's your worry of hana. So basically it depends. What's it called? I want something important. I just want to mention. This goes on the previous seif from the Maharsha. He points out, so there's the kula, that you're supposed to know who writes the chosam or not. So he says, if you know who wrote it, but you don't know his handwriting or his chasima, that's good enough. Just whatever that's worth, because there's going to be a mirtas. The fact that you know who, that the mishloach knows that you know who sent it or who gave the hashkacha, so there's going to be a mirtas even though you don't recognize his writing. So I'm just, I'm not going to continue, but I'm just going to wrap up a list of, this is a short summary from the past tense seifim, a short summary of all the ideals that are very important. But b'di'evid, there's a lot of room to be mekel. Doesn't mean it's good for policy, lechatchila. So anyways, what are the ideals that you need to have? You need to have one or two chosamos, depending Isser D'Oraisa D'Rabbanan, that are very difficult to open or to forge. There needs to be a mirtas of fear of being caught. Someone's watching you, losing your job, there's cameras. Okay. Number 3, there has to be where there's, we want it to be, it's going to be a better case when there's no benefit of switching, so that we just saw, you can change the whole from mutter to aser. Another one, it has to be if it's difficult or expensive to switch, so then there's less of a problem of needing a chosam. If the delivery we mentioned is being done in the public, Maybe you don't even need a chosam anymore. If it's a mishloach going straight from the restaurant straight to your house, maybe a chosam is unnecessary. If the delivery service is in a Jewish neighborhood, so that we saw according to the Ramah, the minhag was lahakal. Whether you call it mahajan or not, maybe not, but it's certainly lachatchila according to the Ramah's minhag. If it's in a Jewish city and it's an open, if the shliach is eno chashid, then it could be okay. We saw that also by the Ramah and Aleph, I think. It's only a problem by someone who's chashid. It's good if the sender is the receiver, or at least the receiver knows who the sender is, or how it's supposed to, the food is supposed to look, or how the chosam or the ksav is supposed to look, at least for areas of b'diavad. Anyway, yotzei nichnas, or having cameras, those are huge kulas, to not need a chosam at all. And there's now also, there could be another one, we didn't see it here, but it's mentioned in Achronim. What happens if the shaliach has no clue that there's food in the package? He's sending a package. He might think it's dental supplies, or he might think it's, equipment for whatever it is. He has no idea that there's food. So then maybe you don't need a chosam. That's a tzad. Anyway, so we'll stop for today and we'll finish.
Right.